So we're just a week to go now until the launch of Last Epoch. Next Wednesday, 21st of February, it will be here, so I'm starting to get really excited. Now, the class that I've probably been looking forward to the most is the Falconer. So we had the recent reveal of that on the Maxrow website. They handled that really well when they done it. It was a great reveal, a lot of information we have. On top of this as well, the amazing Last Epoch Tools website, they've actually got the full build planner with all of the skills available for the Falconer as well. So for this video, the initial plan was to look through the different skills and just show them off and talk about my general impressions, but doing this and actually looking through the skills in preparation for the video, I seen a potential setup that could be pretty crazy for the Falconer that could give you around about 700% more damage, and more damage is your amazing damage stat, but it multiplies everything after it's already been added and increased and so on. So yeah, it could be pretty bonkers if it could work. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'll break down the different skills for the Falconers. I'll point out some of the more interesting nodes that are definitely worthwhile pointing out, but by and large in this video I'll be showing you where you would go for this 700% more damage. Now let's go in, let's start breaking it all down. For this skill then, we've got some gameplay in the background. The gameplay comes from Maxrow YouTube channel. They put out a series of videos for all the skills, so feel free to check that out. But your first mastery skill you get has to be the bird. It's the falconry. So with this, it works as a passive in that when you have this equipped, you'll summon a falcon that fights alongside you. When you activate this skill, the falcon will rapidly hit enemies in a target area, and we've got the full skill tree that's based around that as well. The way the falcon actually works in regards to its damage, you can see it'll be based on the dexterity stat and your minion scaling tags as well. It's all pretty self-explanatory that. Let's look at the full skill tree for it. With this build planner here and the point allocation, I've basically put points into nodes that are related to the huge more damage multiplier setup that I'm looking at, and also just nodes that generally I find interesting. This isn't me saying this is a build I'm running or anything like that. The nodes that I've selected are more to help me remember which ones I'm going to discuss in this particular segment. So starting off, you got Falconer's Mark. So whenever the Falcon hits an enemy with the Falcon Strike, it marks them. Your next hit against a marked target deals more damage, and then it consumes the mark. So when you've got your full 3 points in that, your next hit would deal 105% more damage, so you're essentially doubling the damage after all the damage calculations have been done. This one here would tie in nice because it would make it easier to apply the mark. Your Falcon's other hits have a chance to inflict Falconer's Mark, 40% chance there. With 2 points, we have 3 points into AV and Arsenal. I'm not going to read out the full tooltip because there's a lot going on here, but essentially your Falcon can inherit some of the damage from yourself whenever you consume a Falconer's Mark. Moving down here, we've got Falconer's Journey. Looking at this one, it's interesting because it's a more damage multiplier per level, so that could go up to 100% of course, and then your Falcon damage per dexterity. And if you were going for a Falcon build, let's just say you had around about 50 dexterity for example, that's 150% more damage for your Falcon, so it's going to start to hit pretty hard. We've then got even more damage here, or more damage. You can see it goes up to 12%. Nodes that are interesting here, I really like this Watchful Eye. So your Falcon now more heavily prioritises enemies close to you, so it'll stick close to you and take out enemies, or Sidekick where your Falcon will fly away and it'll take out far enemies. I just like that you've got that element of control over it through a node, and it's only 1 point for it as well. Other nodes that are interesting here, we've got Hunter's Spoils. So when your Falcon kills an enemy or hits a boss or rare enemy, it restores health and mana to you based on your total attributes. With your total attributes, again, if you go particularly heavy on them, maybe dexterity and vitality, you might hit 100, so that could be 50 health gain per kill, or when you actually, or when your Falcon even hits a boss or a rare, and then you've got your mana regain as well. You could be looking at around about 3 mana gain per hit, and it all does add up there, especially if the Falcon is hitting fast. There's no internal cooldown on that. And if you look at a few more nodes to look at that are interesting here, we've got, let's see, we've got the Train to Hunt. So with this one here, a portion of the highest of your global increased melee damage, increased thrown damage, and bow damage now apply to all your Falcon's damage. That's up to 75% of it, so it's inheriting your stats once again, and with this here it can inherit part of your crit chance. So that is the falconry tree, and from that one you can see you've got quite a few multipliers and it's all adding up for your more damage, especially from this particular skill here, so that your next attack would do a whopping amount of damage, and that's the actual next skill we're going to look at. So this here is the attack that I reckon could get pretty bonkers if you set it up with various other falconry skills. So it's Dive Bomb. Your Falcon ascends high into the sky, then dive bombs a target location at high speed, dealing a high amount of physical damage to enemies in the area. Mana cost is 20, cooldown is 7 seconds, and the cooldown on this through some of the nodes we'll choose, it would bump it way up, but we could pull it down via cooldown reduction, but it is going to be a skill that's going to take a while to recharge. But again, I think it could hit insanely hard. In regards to scaling, not surprisingly, you've got dexterity and you've also got your physical and your minion as well, because of course it is the Falcon that's doing it. But let's look at the skill tree for it. With this particular skilling tree then, it's all about the more damage. I don't really have any additional nodes that I will be shown. The ones that are tied in with more at the end of this tree, we have a skill that I'm not even going to attempt to say the name on that one, but if you have 30 stacks of bleed, which can be pretty easy to get to be honest, then you'll deal an additional 30% more damage. Moving up over here, we've got an additional 16% more damage and it pulls down the mana cost of this particular skill. We have 16% more damage once again and reduced delay, so it'll do the dive bomb quicker. 72% more damage, which is bonkers. Yes, you've got a pretty big trade-off there. The cooldown duration is increased by 72%. So as I've said, the cooldown in this is going to be huge. But again, you're going to go over 700% more damage if you work it with this particular setup I'm about to show off. You've then got Dazed Prey, that's another additional 80% more damage. Once again, cooldown going up by 8 seconds. The base cooldown is 7 seconds. You've got 8 taking you to 15. You've got this. Again, the cooldown is going to be huge, but I think it's fun just to see how much more damage we can get with the setup. But that's the Dive Bomb skill. Let's look at the next one. Our next skill we have here is Ail Assault. This doesn't do anything for the particular setup that I'm aiming for, but I will show off some of the nodes for it and you can see some gameplay here as well of course. But for this skill, you leap towards your target and your Falcon dives to catch you and momentarily carries you forward before it flies up and unleashes a wing burst at the target location. If nothing, even if it doesn't do anything for the setup I'm looking to run or the build that I'm playing around with, it does look pretty cool, the skill. But let's look at the skill tree for it. With this skill tree then, it looks like it will supplement a rogue build that's already out at the moment and is really powerful, and it's your shadow daggers. So you've got this particular node here. This will allow you to generate shadows if you have less than 3. You've then got Twilight Strike, so that when you use this ability, your Falcon will throw out some Umbral Blades for you, up to 6 of them, with your full 3 points. And then you've got this one here, where the Umbral Blades hits from the Twilight Strike node, which is the last one. They now inflict Shadow Daggers. Shadow Daggers is your move that auto crits once you get 4 stacks of it. Exceptionally powerful. If you can double dip this with the existing setups you have for your Umbral Blades, where you get them to spin on the spot and apply Shadow Daggers in, this could be pretty crazy, but we need to see what happens with it. But let's have a look at the next skill. The next ability we have here is Net. So with this, you leap backwards, throw a net which snares enemies, it deals physical damage. Netted bosses and raid enemies have reduced movement speed. Other enemies are immobilised. It looks like they are immobilised for 1 second according to this tooltip. Once again, we'll check out the skill tree. On this one, we're getting some more damage and there's quite a few interesting nodes as well. For this skill here then, we start off with Net Trap down the bottom. So normally when you throw out the net, you have to hit the enemy for them to be immobilised, but with this you can throw up to 6 traps, and then when the enemy walks into them, they'll be immobilised. They last for up to 30 seconds, so the idea of throwing them out and seeing enemies coming towards you and then getting immobilised, it sounds pretty nice. In regards to our more damage that we're obsessed with in this video, we've got Exposed Bait. So your Falcon deals more global damage, and that's a multiplier of course, so that's your more multiplier, up to 40% to netted enemies. We then have this node over here, Tangled and Prone, so netted enemies and enemies slowed by the tangle wire node cannot dodge and cannot avoid critical strikes. So the idea is you throw down your net, you do your skill to get your Falconer's mark, you then do your dive bomb, you've got all that additional more damage on it and your enemies can't dodge the attack, and they also can't avoid a potential crit on it either. But let's have a look at the final skill here. The final skill here then is Explosive Trap. So throws a trap that explodes when triggered, dealing fire damage. It takes 0.4 seconds to arm and explodes when enemies walk over them at after 30 seconds, and you can have up to 6 traps here. So with this one, once again, we're going to look at where you can get more damage and again some of the more interesting nodes. With this skill tree here, then we'll look at some of the interesting nodes before we go on to the more multipliers. You've got hold this, so whenever you hit an enemy with any melee attack, you attach an explosive trap to that enemy. 1.5 second cooldown, takes a second for the trap to explode as well, and they can only have one on them at a time there. But I like the idea of going up against the boss and you're wailing away with them on your daggers, and the boss is just constantly exploding with the traps. You've also got arrow traps, so when an explosive trap detonates, all other explosive traps now also detonate in quick succession and fire detonating arrows at the original target's trap location. Detonating arrows of course enables the bow mage build and your ice goes firing all over the screen. If you don't know what I mean by that, then just search Last Epoch bow mage and you'll see how awesome that will actually be. Moving on to some potential more damage here, what I was looking at is the fact the explosive trap can have a maximum of 6 traps. This would take it up to 10, this would take it up to 12. From here you would throw out all 12 at once, and I don't know how big the area is, I don't know if you could get them to all proc at once, but you could throw out all 12 at once. Once you've actually done that, this node here, Sky Signal, whenever one of your explosive traps detonate, your Falcon deals more damage. Again, it's a more multiplier for a short duration. The buff can stack an unlimited amount of times, so what I was thinking is if you could detonate all those 12 mines at once, that's 15% more damage per mine. That could be 180% additional more damage, which is just absolutely crazy. And that's where I come up eventually. If you look at all the different skills, that's where I was coming up with the around about 700% more damage for your dive bomb. And I'll say once again, yes, the cooldown on the skill looks like it could be absolutely huge, but I don't normally get into the numbers too much myself, so I don't know if there's any other abilities that we've been able to get the more damage that high on them. It does seem pretty crazy to me. Let me know in the comments below if you're someone that creates spreadsheets for the game and you're really into the numbers. Let me know if I'm onto something here or this would be complete and utter garbage. I'm curious. We'll find out in a week's time when the game does come out, but do let me know regardless. Now, before we do finish up here, if you've not yet purchased Last Epoch, firstly, why have you waited this long? And secondly, if you are about to purchase it, if you're no longer on the fence from what you've seen recently, then I'm an affiliate with the Nexus store and Last Epoch, and what that actually means is that if you go to the link in the description below and you purchase the game from there, you'll get your Steam key as normal, but a portion of that sale will actually go to myself, which helps out the channel an absolute ton. And you've got your regular edition, your deluxe edition, your ultimate edition. If you even buy some of the supporters packs, a portion of that will go to myself as well to help out. So yeah, if you're going to do that, please do check out that link below. But let me know in the comments below what you think of the Falconer and what you think of the more damage that I've been harping on about for the past 12 minutes or so, and if anything could come of it. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. See you all again soon.